recent corporate protection case reminded me of a strategy that just might be relevant for some of your clients looking to provide for rather than reduce inheritance tax. So this, as you'd expect, is in relation to protection plans taken out in trust to meet inheritance tax. So of course you can make gifts, and that's the best thing to do to reduce inheritance tax. Make the gift, survive 7 years, make the gift into trust, survive 7 years, retain some control over the trust, all of that. But for some people, they can only go so far, or they don't want to go that far at all. And to the extent that there is a remaining liability, ensuring the liability, so putting protection in place to meet the tax liability when it arises, which is often on the death of the second of a couple to die, so typically a last survivor insurance. In trust is the way to go, provided of course it's commercially acceptable, it's affordable. However, that does impose a cost. When you make a gift, it also imposes a cost. It imposes a cost because you lose control over and access to the asset unless you put it in trust, where you might have some control and maybe even a bit of access. So what's the cost here in relation to a protection policy? Well, the cost is quite obviously the premium. So as long as that is acceptable, then that's fine, and the premiums will usually qualify as normal expenditure out of income. That may change, of course, when we have the Office of Tax Simplification provisions reviewed, or it may not. But right now you've got the normal expenditure exemption, you've got the ordinary annual exemption, which would usually mean there's no inheritance tax problem. But what if there's generally a cost and affordability problem? Well then, does it make sense for the persons who will benefit under the policy, the beneficiaries, often the children, who are often, when people get to think about inheritance tax, the children at that point are usually working and often have children of their own. So should they be paying the premium for the outcome, i.e. the sum assured, that they will receive, that will help them pay the inheritance tax liability, which will ensure that they receive the estate intact with tax paid on it? Arguably you say, yeah, that seems only fair. Now where that's reasonable and the family agree that they would want to do that, how do they do that? Do they have an insurable interest in the parents? Could the children take out a policy on the life of their parents? Arguably not, because they don't have an insurable interest. It occurred to me, because in the past this is a solution that has been used, is that the parents take out the policy and pay the first premium under the policy on their own life in trust for the children. The children then take over premium payments. When I say children, I'm saying, you know, they can afford the payments, they're working, they have the ability and the desire to pay the premiums. They then pay the premiums under a policy that would typically be in a trust for their absolute benefit, because if they're going to pay the premiums, they probably want to make sure that they are definitely going to get the benefit. That also removes any issues around reservation of benefit, i.e. them contributing to a trust under which they can benefit. Now there are double taxation provisions to remove the likelihood of a double charge, but to remove it altogether is just having a simple absolute trust for the benefit of the three children, who, I'll say three, could be two, however many children you've got, the people that pay the premiums, because the people that pay the premiums would want to ensure that they get the benefit. So in a simple case, there's mum and dad with £100,000 inheritance tax liability. They have a last survivor policy for £100,000 that they take out and pay the first premium. After that, the kids take over the premium payment, which is in trust for their absolute benefit. They make the premium payments. Of course, the value of that policy as it goes along is in their estate, but it would be anyway under the trust. When the death occurs, the sum assured is not in the estate of the parents because it's in trust. It gets paid to the children and they use that money to pay the tax. Just seems like a kind of fair way where everyone has available money and are in agreement that it's the people who benefit who should pay the premium. Just saying it's a possible solution where protection is desirable but can't be afforded by just the people who have the liability. It was explained to me once that it's a bit like paying inheritance tax in instalments up front.